Hello, everyone. Welcome to my Kickstart Privacy channel, where today we are diving deep into assessing the privacy practices of an organization. Whether you are a business owner, a concerned employee, or just curious about data privacy, and this is for you. Okay. The data breaches, unauthorized access and privacy concerns have made headlines worldwide, right? But how can you evaluate if an organization is really walking the talk on privacy? So join me today as we embark on this journey to understand, evaluate, and champion privacy practices that truly respect and protect individuals' rights in the digital age. So, uh, in this session, I'm going to cover these topics, right? To start with the data governance. So you please also note that these assessment questionnaires are meant to provide a general idea of the types of questions you may include in your assessment. It is crucial to tailor them to your organization specific context, processes, and legal requirements to accurately assess data protection practices and compliance with the relevant data protection regulations. Okay. All right. So in this part 1 series, I'm going to cover governance practices. We are going to assess the governance practices in an organization, right? All right. So the first question is to see whether a team or an individual responsible for data protection practices within the organization. The first question is there a designated individual or a team responsible for overseeing data protection practices within the organization? So option A, yes, there is a dedicated data protection officer or team available. B, there is no designated individual or a team. C, some responsibilities are assigned, but no dedicated role or team exists. D, it is unclear or not assessed. So I'm going to take the option yes, and then I explain why I have chose it, and we will see B, C, and D are not, why they are not applicable. Okay. All right. So option A, yes, there is a dedicated data protection officer or team available. So the reason is, if you have a data protection officer or an individual who is actually responsible for data protection, it ensures the accountability, right? And clear ownership of data protection responsibilities, helping to establish effective data governance practices. Okay, so have a data protection officer or an individual who is actually responsible for your data protection activities. Okay, and let's see why B is not the right option, or I have not chosen. If you don't have any data protection individual or a designated individual or a team, the data protection practices can become decentralized and inconsistent, right? If you take option C, assigning some responsibilities without having a dedicated role or a team, might lead to a partial or a fragmented approach to data protection. So what about D? It is unclear or not assessed. So if the state of the data protection rule or and responsibilities is unclear or not assessed, the organization is in a vulnerable position. Right. So in essence, a dedicated role or team ensures comprehensive, consistent, and up-to-date data protection, minimizing the risks and promoting best practices. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Are data protection policies and procedures documented, communicated, and accessible to employees? Let's see the options. Yes. Option A, policies and procedures are documented, communicated, and accessible. Option B, there are no documented data protection policies and procedures. And option C, some policies and procedures are documented, but communication and accessibility need improvement. What about option D? Policies and procedures exist but are not communicated or accessible to employees. So my answer would be option A. I have a policies and procedures are documented, communicated, and accessible. So let me explain you why. Documenting data protection policies and procedures and ensuring their communication and accessibility promotes consistency, right? Awareness, right? And compliance within the organization. So if I take a B as an answer, there are organizations, there are no documented data protection policies and procedures. So in that case, lack of any documented data protection policies and procedures means, there is no standard to follow. So that makes the organization vulnerable, right? And if you take a C as an option, when only some policies and procedures are documented, but there is a lack in communication and accessibility, it means there is an incomplete approach to data protection. What about option D? Even if the organization has put effort into creating them, if employees can't access or are not aware of them, they cannot follow them, right? The result can be uninformed decisions and practices that put data at risk. So in conclusion, for effective data governance, not only is it crucial to have policies and procedures in place, but ensuring they are all well communicated and easily accessible is equally vital. Okay, let's move on to the third question. Is there a process in place to regularly review and update data protection policies and procedures? Let's see the options are. Yes, there are policies and procedures regularly reviewed and updated. No, there is no process in place to review and update policies and procedures. Some policies and procedures are reviewed and updated, but improvements are needed for regularity. The fourth one, the review and update process for policies and procedures has not been assessed. So I'm going to take A as an option answer. There are policies and procedures are regularly reviewed and updated. So what is the explanation here? Why I chose A as an option? Because we have policies and procedures regularly reviewed and updated. So regularly reviewing and updating data protection policies and procedures ensures that they remain up to date with evolving legal and regulatory requirement. Yes, industry best practices and organizational changes. Okay, let's see when option B, when there is no process in place, that means without a process to review and update, policies might become outdated. This can leave the organization vulnerable to new threats or non-compliant with new regulations. What about option C? Reviewing only some policies, or not doing it regularly can lead to inconsistencies, right? What about option D? If the organization has not assessed, how it reviews and updates its policies, it is in the dark about potential risks, right? So, in summary, to ensure the organization's data protection measures are effective, it is essential to regularly revisit and adjust policies and procedures as needed. Okay, let's move on to the fourth. Our data protection roles and responsibilities clearly defined and communicated throughout the organization. Okay, what are the options? Yes, we have data protection roles and responsibilities are clearly defined and communicated. There is no clear definitions or communication of data protection roles and responsibilities. Some roles and responsibilities are defined, but communication needs improvement. Option D, data protection roles and responsibilities have not been assessed for clarity and communication. And I'm going to choose yes, because we have data protection roles and responsibilities are clearly defined and communicated. The explanation, I know why. When you have a clear definition and communication of data protection roles and responsibilities, that actually ensure that employees understand their obligations, right? And effectively communicate to data protection efforts within the organization. Okay, and see the options B. If you choose, if there is no clear definition or communication of roles, there would be a confusion, right? What about option C? Defining some roles, but not communicating them effectively can still lead to uncertainty, right? What about option D? If roles and responsibilities have not been assessed for clarity and communication, the organization doesn't even know if there are any gaps or misunderstandings. So, in essence, to ensure robust data protection, it's not just about assigning roles, but also about making sure everyone knows and understands those roles. Okay, let's move on to the next. Is there a process in place for assessing and managing risks associated with data processing activities. Okay, let's see what are the options. Yes, there is a systematic process for assessing and managing data processing risks. And option B, no, there is no process in place to assess and manage data processing risks. Option D, some data processing risks are assessed and managed, but improvements are needed for consistency. Option D, data processing risks have not been assessed or managed. So, in your organization, if you have it, everything, the process, systematic process for assessing and managing the process, data processing risks, then it is A. What is the explanation why I chose this? Because implementing a process for assessing and managing data processing risks helps identify and mitigate potential privacy risks. Right, so what we are talking about is the data protection impact assessment. Okay, ensuring compliance with the data protection requirements and protecting individual rights. Okay, let's see option B. Without a process to assess and manage data processing risks, the organization is flying blind. What about option C? If only some risks are assessed and managed, there are of course gaps in the organization's defense. What about option D? Failing to assess or manage data processing risks is a recipe for potential data breaches and non-compliance. So in summary, an effective data protection strategy requires not only awareness of potential risks, but also proactive planning and actions to address and mitigate them. All right, let's move on to one. Are privacy and data protection considerations integrated into the design of systems and processes? It is privacy by design or privacy by default, that part of it. Okay, so I have privacy and data protection considerations are integrated into our systems and our process design. Okay, so option B, I don't have no, privacy and data protection considerations are not integrated into the systems and process design. Option B, some considerations are integrated, but we still need some improvement. Option D, integration of privacy and data protection considerations has not been assessed at all. Okay, so my answer is yes, because we have the data protection considerations are integrated into the systems and process design. What is my explanations here? So integrating privacy and data protection considerations into the design of systems and processes from the outset from the beginning. Okay, following the privacy by design principles, it helps actually ensure that privacy requirements and safeguards are embedded into the design so that we can minimize the privacy risks from the outset. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Is there a process in place to monitor and review third-party vendors compliance with the data protection requirements. And yes, we have a process in place to monitor and review the third-party vendor compliance. No, we don't have any process to monitor and review vendor compliance. Some are there, but we still need more improvements for consistency and effectiveness. And option D, we have not been assessed for their compliance yet. Okay. And I go with answer yes, because we have a process in place to monitor and review vendor compliance. Why is that? Monitoring and reviewing third-party vendors' compliance with the respective data protection requirement ensures that they handle personal data in a secure and compliant manner, reducing the risk of data breaches and protecting individual privacy. Okay, let's see if you choose option B. So without any process to oversee the vendor's compliance, the organization is taking a leap of faith that these external entities are protecting data adequately. Okay. What about option C? If only incomplete monitoring process are in place, of course the organization might miss some lapses in vendors' data protection practices. Option D, not assessing their vendors comply with the data protection requirement is a passive approach that can lead to, of course, data breaches. All right, let's move on. Eighth question, is there a process in place to respond to data subject requests to exercise their data protection rights? What are the options? Yes, I do have a process in place to respond to their request. No, there is no process at all. And option C, some processes exist, but we still need improvement for the efficiency and effectiveness. So we have not been assessed these processes yet. So of course, if you have a process in place, you go with option A to respond the data subject request. Why is that? Having a process to respond to data subjects request, such as, all the data subject rights, right? So to access, to rectification or erase a request, our organization fulfills individuals' rights and comply with the data protection regulations. So in summary, for an organization to truly respect and uphold data protection rights, a comprehensive and efficient process needs to be in place to handle such data subject rights or request. Okay, let's move on to, I think, couple of more I have. What is the ninth one? Our data protection training and awareness programs are provided to the employees on a regular basis. So what are the options? So if your organization doing the training and awareness that is regularly provided, then you can choose the option yes. What about option B? There are no data protection training and awareness program available. Option D, some training and awareness exist, but we still need the improvements and the regularity and comprehensiveness. Option D, so we have not thought about it on the training and awareness programs. So of course, if you have that in place, you can choose data protection training and awareness programs are provided regularly. So what is the explanation here? Providing regular data protection training and awareness programs to employees helps foster a culture of privacy and data protection compliance, ensuring that they understand their responsibilities and the importance of safeguarding personal data, because safeguarding personal data is everyone's responsibility, right? What about option B? If there are no training programs, employees are left uninformed about the best practices and potential pitfalls in the data protection. What about option C? you know Incomplete training might leave gaps in employees knowledge, potentially leading to mistakes or oversights in the data protection. What about option D? Not evaluating the state of the organization's training and awareness program is an oversight that leaves the organization blind to potential areas of improvement. Okay, so in essence, consistent and comprehensive training in data protection is crucial for ensuring that all employees are equipped with the knowledge that they need to handle personal data responsibly and securely. Okay, let's. Our last questions in this series: is there a process in place to assess and document the impact of data processing activities on individuals' privacy? Okay, let's see the options. Or if you have this process in place to assess and document the impact of data processing activities, you can say yes. And if there is no process at all to do this, then it is no. And if you have some assessment going on and there are some documentations exist, but you still need an improvement for consistency and comprehensiveness, so you have not been assessed the impact of data processing activities yet. So my options is yes, because there is a process to assess and document the impact of data processing activities are there in my organization. What is the explanation? So conducting the privacy impact assessments, right? It helps identify and mitigate privacy risks proactively associated with data processing activities. That, of course, ensures compliance with the relevant data protection requirements, and of course protecting the individual's privacy risks. Okay. What about option B here? Without a process to assess and document the impact of data processing, organizations are blind to the potential risks they might be exposing the individuals to. What about option C? While having some assessment is a good start actually, but a lack of consistency or comprehensiveness can leave certain risks unaddressed, right? What about option D? Not even evaluating how data processing impact privacy means an organization is not actively considering one of the main pillar of data protection. So in summary, for optimal data protection, it is vital for any organizations to not only process data but also actively evaluate and understand the implications of their processing activities on individual privacy. All right. Hope it makes sense. These are the relevant questionnaires I found useful when you assess the privacy practices within your organizations on governance perspective. So, thank you for watching. If you really like it, please like it and share your comments and share it further to others, for the benefit of others. But keep watching it. I will share the rest of the topics and its questionnaires soon. Thanks again. Bye bye.